I think that people get wrapped up in making purpose like purpose. And it's like, I got to be saving the rainforest or all the animals or, whatever. But in a way, it can be pretty small, and it can be now, and it can be, the next 9 months, and it can be a phase in the longevity of multiple phases, rather than this, I got to decipher this huge puzzle where my like cosmic entity is guiding and shepherding every step of the way. That makes it feel so big and looming that it's hard to figure out where to begin. And if you are inclined and intrinsically motivated to figure out purpose and figure out why, that feels like it's 90,000 steps away. We're here, we're live on Mondays. We got to just chat about how I love Mondays and rebranding Mondays. I want to start with this question because I've been dying to ask you. There's a lot of width in your world. Like, you have done a lot, you do a lot. And I think in the land of like art and being an artist, width is important. But in the land of business, width is like really challenging. You can get like kind of spun sideways. Like, how do you see the difference? Like, you're in business, but you're in art. Like, I don't know. How do you see it?
Gosh, it's been a lot of years of people telling me, pick a lane, and me just giving them the finger. So I just, slowing down, like we were just talking about, finding that calm, and prioritizing, time management, figuring out what's it worth, prioritizing. I think that I've done a lot of studying of people that I want to be like. I think more about who I want to become rather than what I want to accomplish. And then the accomplishments kind of follow, and the doors open that are supposed to open. So for example, when I was so focused on the acting world, the music world kind of just opened, and I just said, okay, God, this is where I'm going. Then this is where I'm going. And then the acting world, opened back up. So it's been kind of this flow, and I've definitely had times where I struggled with it, and thought, I'm never going to succeed at anything if I don't choose one thing to truly like succeed at. And then I started noticing that if you really study people that have quote, quote, made it, right? Very rarely do they only have one thing, that they just dropped everything else and like only did one thing. Like, most people, when that go hard at one thing, they probably go hard at a few. They're probably just the type that go hard, So yeah, it's definitely been a balancing act, and I had to cut a lot out to make space, for those things. A lot out.
I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Can you share some of the width? Because I think you and I actually have maybe a stop point on the conversational journey of the things that you do. So I know acting.
Yeah.
You've now got some singles that have been released.
Yes.
What else have you experimented with and tried as an artist?
As an artist, it's been just those two. I've always said, my acting is my heart, my music is my soul. So I've been back and forth a lot. I sang when I was younger. As a little kid, my dream was to be a singer. And then I was classically trained. And then I switched over to, there is more. I painted. I thought for a very long time that I was going to be a visual arts major. I would hang out and paint in the art room while everyone else was like at lunch. Like, that was my world. Then I switched schools, and they didn't have art. They didn't have an art class. And I was devastated. I was like, this is the reason I came to this school. Like, it didn't exist yet. The year before I came to the first year ever of this high school. And so they painted this very artistic experience. And my artsy self was like, it's music, painting. Like, those were my two things at the time. And I come and they don't have an art class. So I was like, acting, I guess, is art. It just kind of, and then it was just gung ho. Every single musical, every single play, all 4 years. Went to Scotland with the Fringe Festival, went into theater in college, got my theater major. I did try at the beginning to do a dual theater and art major, but I started working with guac and it was just game over. Like it's this, I don't know if you know guac. It's like not guac, gouache. Is it gouache? So that's how much I know about art at this point, that visual paint. I was like, look, I know oil and I know acrylic, but like this other thing, it's a beast. It's like, it's kind of like life. You think it's one thing and then it switches up on you. Like it literally dries a different color. Exasperating. Anyways, so I was like, no, there were just too many credits also too. So I just did theater and business, graduated. So yeah, so we have the art that's more of my passion that I'll still crack out a painting every once in a while or a canvas and do that. But like, that's for me. Like that's I don't post that anywhere. I don't show that. And then, yeah, so music's been a minute. That's been since 2016, 17 is when I first started dabbling. So not too long, but, started like actually produced, like putting my, music out there. I performed in, Pennsylvania in 2 or 3 years ago now.
Nice.
So yeah,
You and
so
I are
there's
both
that
East
world.
Coasters.
Huh?
I'm an East Coaster, so
Oh,
Pennsylvania's not
okay.
far.
Yeah, no, that was a great experience. And then, yeah, the acting thing has been a lot of reality TV, which is not what I was going for, but life is crazy. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. I always said that reality shows were like suicide for an actor, but honestly, I'm so glad that I did. It's a very different experience. You get very used to being in front of a camera. So camera shy just disappears because there's, yeah, 24/7, there's a camera in your face. There's no room to be camera shy. So it's kind of a unique experience in that way. And every time I've done a show, I've worked with totally different casts. Like some I hated, some I loved. Just a totally different learning experience. But yeah, so those are my art things. And everything else that I've done has been to facilitate being able to do my art. Like the end goal is just to be able to do art. Now actually though, there's been a bit of a shift in that part of the reason the only reason that I started writing music again is because it was healing for me. I went through a breakup, wrote a song. It wasn't for anyone else except for me and to kind of stick to my ex, who was a musician and his sisters were famous singers. And then one door opened and led to another. But as I started writing, as you are aware, I went through more relationship drama and this and that. And I continued putting that into songs. Like it's a very Taylor Swift type of situation. Every song has a real life story. And yeah, so the goal was, that I help someone else, that someone else hears this song and feels like I thought it was only me. Feels not so alone. So I've done different side jobs in the meantime. I've worked fashion PR. Worked as a law clerk. I've done waitressing. I've done sales. I've done, marketing, social media marketing, like the list goes on, but they're all to facilitate that my music and art is continuing because that's what mattered the most. And now the company that I have started called Live Viva, this has just been birthed out of my art. It's like the reason that I'm writing music and that I'm acting is because my biggest love for acting is this desire to understand people and to live in another person's shoes for a second. So I've always been kind of fascinated with human psychology, and having gone through what I've gone through and having such a passion to help others, especially young girls, I started this company. And it ended up being for men and for women. And we just help empower people, in the same way that I hope that art does.
So I hear a couple of interesting threads there. One, the story starts with, I'm going to do what I got to do to make art happen. then I think I can relate to this. There's a drift away from art for maybe necessity or I don't know, the throes of life. Then there's a drift back to art, and then art becomes impact. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's epic. Uh, in a lot of ways, what I appreciate about artists and just the idea of artistry, which in many ways to me is the pinnacle of what someone can pursue. It's expression. It's unfiltered. It's raw, and it requires a lot of revealing of your own insecurities. Like you got to have your own sanctity and your own sanctuary when you're producing art, so it
Yeah.
can be authentic. But we're in a world where like cancel culture and judgment and like hate mail is so easy that it can almost force an artist back into the shell, like to turtle back
Yeah.
up again and just following your content and paying attention to you. You do an amazing job of putting your heart out, making sure that it's real, and from the observer, making the conversation you and me. Was that something that you just built over time? Was that a skill that you developed? Like, how do you make sure that you stay in alignment with who you are as you create content?
That's a great question. That has been a battle. And every time I hear anyone say anything like that, it doesn't, become any less sweet. Because
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, it's a win every time. Because I do live in LA, live in a world where I was just told over and over, why aren't you being yourself? Why aren't you being yourself? Why aren't you being authentic? And I think that when I started using my voice, my authenticity started to show more. When I'm writing music, when I'm in that booth, I don't care about anything else. I'm just there and I'm crying, and I'm like, maybe not actually crying, but like my inner cries are just pouring out, and they need somewhere to go. So that's where they go. Whereas like when I was doing content, that was just like me at in this bikini at this beach, just another girl trying to be whatever, like doing the it things. And these are had so many pictures with cars. Like what is with the picture? Like I love cars. So I was like, I just really like them, but it's like, okay, but you don't have to pose in front of them. Like, I went through all of the phases. I had a phase where I would wear like only red with a dramatic red hat, and like only blue with a dramatic blue hat, like the whole thing. So it's been a lot of finding my voice. And then when I started speaking more, and I will take like quotes that I agree with and then speak them, or some variation of them, or something comes up that for me just hits and I talk about it. So I think maybe partially being an actor, I feel comfortable verbally speaking. So that I think was the thing that finally got people to see me. Cause I think when I'm talking about something I care about, I can't help but just be fucking real. Like there's no beating around the bush. When it comes to just topics that I care about, you can't fake the funk. So I think that is partially what does it. And it's a, continual battle. But when I am in front of a camera, talking, recording my content, it is just me and the person that I'm talking to baby me. I'm talking to, that person that's gotten heartbroken. I'm talking to, it's personal. And I think that shift in my mind, I made a conscious decision to start doing that and making it more personal, and not making about trying to be this person that I'm not, which I didn't understand. I was like, but I mean, this is my life. These are the experiences I'm having. How is this not me? Like it takes a long time. And I had a reel that I did about that. Like, what is be yourself? Like so many people tell you, like, just be yourself. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, if this feels natural to me, then it's me. Like, I'm not being someone else. Like, but the reality is, like, I think that we are so socialized over so much time that what we just feel like doing seems like it's us. But like, would you be doing that if you were like with your bestie on a bed, eating gummies, binge watching movies? Like, I think those are the moments, where like you're you, like the things that you say in those moments, the level of just comfortability when you just are completely unapologetic, like those are the moments when you're being yourself. And that's what we want to bring out to life and show other people. And that's hard because we are told by the media and by people that didn't, we had crushes on that didn't like us or whatever, that isn't enough. And so we start believing that lie. When the reality is when you peek out and like show people that version of you, they're like, this person is great. Like, where have you been hiding them? So it's an ever learning experience for sure.
I can relate to a lot of that. If there are three things that I have struggled with, it's I am worthy, I am enough, I am lovable.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been really fascinating is I've started to have, it's only been in the last maybe 2 years, but I've started to have this interesting three-way conversation with myself.
Okay.
So there's a version of me that exists here, probably much more like how I am with you right now. Then when a camera snaps on, I trained myself when you're on stage, when you're on camera, when you're in front of people, like business Aaron just popped out.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of thoughtfulness and awareness went so high, like unhealthily high.
Yeah.
So that I was cognizant of like what everyone was thinking about me at the time.
Yeah.
I just became almost robotic, even though it was performance oriented. It was very robotic.
Yeah.
And then recently, like third party Aaron would pop out and be like, "Hey, bro, cut that shit out." Like no one cares. And this isn't about any of that. And I think part of that journey for me has been, can I recognize that the most authentic version of me is not only the best artist, the best craftsman, the best expressionist, but also that we're in a world where authenticity is absolute gold and so rare. Like, and I think I've also watched where authenticity is, it's easy to fabricate. Like someone will say that they're authentic or feel authentic, but then underneath it, like maybe haven't done the work or really haven't dug into like the magic, right? Like in the world of, in like spirituality, it's easy to be like, well, I'm healed. Well, like if anybody says they're healed, I got questions. I have many questions.
So many questions.
and so I think this cycle almost perpetuates a need for authenticity, but a need from authenticity from a place not of like I'm wounded and not of the place of I'm healed, but like here's been my wounds, right? An expression of that. That's something that I feel you're really good at. And to do that, you've got to like face them. So something that I've walked through recently that I want to get your thoughts on. Sometimes it takes a little time and a little work and a little energy to get to a place where you could talk about something and not be the mess.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
What does that process look like for you to go from like feeling it, working on it, mastering it, and then being able to express it?
I think that I'm just such an emo kid that like that turnaround is pretty quick for me. Only because I will quickly talk about it before I'm healed. But I'm learning to not overshare, find my safe people, go through it, feel it. You don't grow through what you don't go through, right? Feeling through it, going to therapy, journaling, recognizing the triggers, recognizing, why did I allow this? Recognizing how do I learn from this? How do I grow from this? And then it becomes much easier to speak about. For me, I think a lot of the time with what I've gone through, what works for me in general in life, and I think that most people are like this, is when you think about the other lives that you can impact, it changes things. And I think that that's the truth for any decision that you make, whether it's walking away from a toxic relationship. A lot of people won't do it until they realize they're hurting other people. They won't do it for themselves. So I guess I don't know if this completely answers your question, but for me, it's so easy for me to talk about what I've been through because, and I, for the first time actually today, had someone be like, she know, like someone so said they were talking about how you got abused. And I was like, so like, I was like, am I supposed, is this a bad thing? Like, cause I don't care about anything except for I want as many people to know as possible so that they can heal and be helped and feel like they're not alone. Like that's the only goal for me telling people is you can leave. If you're in this right now, I did it. You can do it. Like I feel so, extreme and such urgency about getting this news out to girls and guys that they can change the pattern, that they can change the cycle. If they have, even a financial cycle, they can change you break the poverty cycle. They can change the cycle of abuse. They can change the cycle of alcoholism. It's just so extreme to me that I'm excited to share. So I think that is what it really is. But I do think that there is times when it's too soon. There's stuff that I have gone through within the last year that I wouldn't immediately get on and be like, guess what happened to me last night? Like that's not my page.
You're wrong.
Yeah. I take time, like you were saying, I take some time. I think about my actions. I process. I forgive myself. I talk about it with my therapist. And then once it's been a certain amount of time, I feel like also you can share. It's also different, especially with social media. If you're sharing and you're like, last night I did this, people are like, this person's wild, and it will ruin your reputation. And I'm not so big on like, don't ruin your reputation. Like just be true to who you are. But if you want to show that you are trying to work, you have to show people the work. So I'm not going to be here and be like, I don't know. I'm really trying not to wear black. People are going to be like, are you? Like I'm going to wait till at least I've gone like 6 weeks and then be like, guys, it's been 6 weeks. I haven't worn black, wearing a lot of pink. You know what I mean? So I think that's important. It's like, and it's a different timeline for everyone. But I think if you're trying to share about something that's difficult, it's vulnerable, giving a little bit of time for yourself to heal, forgive yourself, and then share with people how you learned from it, overcame it, and are doing better now.
I'm just going to keep that note for me. Nobody else gets that. That's just for me. Yeah, I really do emphasize if anybody is tuned in to that process, what I hear is that you've really set some boundaries for your own safety. And I used to think that boundaries were for everybody else until I realized that like they're just for me. And and if you don't like them, like that's fine. I'm not here to inflict damage on you by setting a line. But I hear that you've gotten a really good sense of grounding in yourself and an understanding of who you are. And as an artist, I find that to be really important, particularly because artistry almost begets change. Like it kind of requires so much evolution. You have to reinvent yourself all the time. Yeah. And I noticed this has come up, it comes up every time in May where we like fixate on Justin Timberlake when he was in NSYNC in like May Day or whatever. Yeah. But someone like that has reinvented himself many times. Taylor Swift, like you mentioned earlier, reinvented herself many, many times. And in that process, I'm always mindful that artists are expected to do it. Outside of that, we kind of fear it. We kind of talk about like reinvention, like it's it requires so much taxation and it's hard and it's gross and it's weird, but artists, you kind of got to go. But I also have found that in the idea of artistry, it can be really hard to be definitive about who you are because you're almost always changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thread that I want to pull on a little bit is like, as an entrepreneur, the artist has to have a business underneath it to like really sustain the art.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, if you're just changing all the time, it's very hard to figure out like what the hell works.
Yeah.
And what is the way and what's effective. And that process to me seems like almost pure contradiction. The artist is required to change. The entrepreneur needs to double down and like learn what they're great at and build a business and find sustainability and be stabilized. And the artist like thrives in chaos. How do you manage the stability need of the business with the artist need for chaos?
That's a very, very good question. Very thought-provoking. I think that it goes back to kind of your first question, right? With doing too many things. And that was just being an artist. That's my personality. And the way I dressed also, it was like my Instagram, if you had looked at it back in the day, the biggest comment I would get is like, what is it? We're all confused. Are you a car model, a model, a singer, an actor? Like what's happening? Everyone was confused, and no business can be sustainable that way. So there was a lot of trial and error with that. And it's interesting what I feel like I'm learning to appreciate numbers. I'm learning that, there is such a need for simplicity in success. Less is truly more. Yeah. And if you find, right, that core of who you are, right? And what your business is, what your brand is. So for me, now that I've really established, it's funny. It's like, in a lot of ways, I had everyone be like, you got to pick a lane. And I just didn't, and I didn't, and I didn't. But it actually kind of worked out in the end because I didn't, but I did find myself. And yeah. And so in that, I found my brand. So I can sing, and it's probably going to be about helping people, overcoming, life change, joy, love, all of these same themes. My business is about all those same themes. My acting, all those same themes. So it's like I'm in the center of all of it. So it all kind of rotates around. So I think that for an artist, that is what it is it's being the brand. Because we change all the time. We're doing country music and then doing rap. But an artist, think about it, like an artist that is established, their brand is established, they can do that. They can all of a sudden be like, MGK, whatever his name is, he was like, just kidding. I'm not going to rap anymore. Now I'm doing, and everyone's like, cool, we'll go with it because he already established the brand of himself. So I think that's the key for an artist, but it is hard establishing that brand. So for me, this past couple of years, I've been like, okay, numbers. We have to take it back to numbers. How am I going to get the numbers? And that requires focus. And that requires almost every day, I have to stop myself from posting random stuff that I'm like, that's cute. Like, that's how my brain works. I would love nothing more than to post like a video of me making a dessert with peanut M&Ms, and then the next one be me singing, and the next one be like, but it would just be all over the place.
Because
so I have to
confuse
be like,
people.
Yeah, I have to, within reason, I'm more organized with it now, where it's like, okay, I can be singing, but I have to have the message because that keeps it grounded. And then the next one, I'm at the beach with a message, or maybe if there's no message, there's a message in the video. So it's always keeping that core value of working on becoming a better person. And that's the brand.
I love that. Yeah. The way you describe that is, I think, one of the most simple ways I've heard someone speak to change as an artist. You know, the quandary that I think is common in both business and art is just this never ending expansion. You just keep saying yes and you try new things, and then no one knows who you are.
Yeah.
We hired one of the best when it comes to brand coaches, who has really helped us. And you would think that if you hire a big brand coach, they just like do this shit all for you. But I'll never forget our first session, because he came in and was like, Aaron, you don't know who you are. And that was like, hello. Because
Thanks.
he had done all the research on like, you know, these different entities and ideas and social. And it was, I think, very similar. There was an effort that I had undergone to add value. But what I was really doing is I was picking up every instrument I possibly could and playing like one note and then putting it down.
Yeah.
And while there was an energy and this sort of like ethereal joy to it, it was also random. Like, it was completely lost.
It's like a kid with a box of crayons.
Totally. Yeah. I love cerulean. It's my favorite blue. I don't know what cerulean comes from, but yes, box of crayons. And that journey has largely been similar, where the centerpiece is who are you, and the core, the values that you have, and then wrapping the brand, the art, the expression, the business around that. So I think that journey is not as uncommon as it sounds, although I don't think people talk about how uncomfortable that is as an artist or an entrepreneur, to be like asked in front of audience, like, hey, who are you? Because it looks unkempt. You look like you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
I would be really curious to know how often you say no now. How often you are like just running and gunning with no instead of yes. Because I think that's the answer.
It is. You hit the nail on the head there. I have lost quite a few friends. I have lost just a lot. Nothing that I want back. Not a single thing. Just being like, I can't. I'm prioritizing these things. I can't. I make up excuses if I have to. I decidedly did not get a car. Okay. No one knows this. I have not put this out there. I will. This is one of those things I'll put it out there later and be like, yeah, guys, didn't know, but my car had trouble. And so I sold it. And then I was like, I'm just not going to get another one. I'm just not going to get another car. That way I can't leave.
You box yourself in here.
I quite literally put myself on house arrest.
It's going all over again.
When I moved back to LA, because I was like, I knew my old habits to be a yes man. And here's the thing about saying yes too much is we say yes to good things.
Yeah.
Church lunch, like breakfast with the girlies, knitting class. I'm going a little extreme here, but you get the idea. I have questions
about that, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all like, we all know a million people, maybe not all of us, but a lot of people have a lot of friends and everyone wants something from you. And that's wonderful. It's so good. But unfortunately, we all only have 24 hours a day. And if you really are wanting to build something, you have to give that up. You have to stop. I stopped drinking for 6 months. I didn't go out because why would I? And that helped me also a lot. I said no a lot because I didn't want to put myself in an environment where I would be tempted to drink. I said no to dates because I realized, I just worked on myself so aggressively and learned to enjoy time with myself so much that it became really easy to say no to a date when it was like, I really would think about it in my head. I'm like, is this guy realistically going to be my person? Like, is he going to bring anything really to my life? Because I know what I have to bring to the table. And I had a successful relationship most recently. And I know that I can be an incredible partner to someone. So if I don't see equal value, and that we could, grow together, like I don't need dinner. Like in fact, quite the opposite. Going on dates stresses me out because I have so much to do. I'm posting 8 times a day. I'm building a company. I'm trying to be as present as possible for my clients 24/7. I'm pretty much like, I'm good about saying no in that I answer when when I'm going to sit down, and they're okay with that. But I do try to keep up with that. So that being said, all of that going on and music on top of it, like when I'm at dinner, I'm like, I have so much I should be doing right now. And instead I'm eating food. Like it's just, and for the right person, it's worth it. 100%. It is worth it. But it's not something I take lightly. So I started saying no to a lot, to most everything. And I got a lot of people making comments to each other like, oh yeah, like I stopped getting invited to things because they knew I just wasn't going to come. So, and they love me, like even my closest friends, they just know they're either going to show up at my house or they're not going to see me, because the likelihood if they invite me, I'm probably not going to come. What I'm doing is too important. The people that I'm serving are too important. And every time I get a DM saying, thank you, it helped me, I'm doing better. Every time I get a message from a client saying, I'm happier than I've ever been, like, it's all worth it. It's worth every lunch I've missed, every barbecue I've missed, everything, and I believe that I'm building something that it's going to multiply, right? And we're going to have a team that can help people all the time. And then I'll be able to step away and have a barbecue and spend time with my children and focus on my husband and this and that. Like I'll get there. But right now, like none of those things are attributing to where I want to go. And if they're not, if it's not something that is really helping me meet that end goal, then why do it? So yeah, I became professional at saying no.
What is your thought on this statement? You learn a lot about a person when you tell them no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great. What did you say earlier that was kind of very similar to this? I have learned who my true friends are easily. Like my best friend, the beginning of this journey, which I would say was about October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 9 months ago, enough time to make a baby. My best friend, I told her, I'm gonna back off a lot. I'm gonna disappear for a while. So yeah.
She was like, where are we going? Let's go.
She pretty much, and I was like, no, you're not going to be able to really text me. You're not going to be able to get a hold of me. I'll pop up every once in a while, but like, and this was so extreme because I have very codependent tendencies. And that's also something that I was trying to regulate. And I was noticing that I was doing the same codependent things that I had done with men, now with women, and needing my girlfriends to, I wanted to hear that they were giving me my happiness. And I was like, no, we need to recenter. I need to get my happiness right here. That's it. That way nothing is going to come in or be tempting because I know I already am good. So I went on that little mission and she was like, okay. And I was like, okay, cool. And then like 3 months later, she's like, we're going out. We're going to the beach. I'm coming over. I'll sit there right next to you and work while you work. I don't care. She just was like, I'm staying in your life. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to do anything different than you're doing, but I'm not going anywhere. And my birthday came around and she had planned an entire surprise party and like brought all the people to my house. And so that, you know what I mean? Like the people that love you, that care about you, that want to be in your life will,
She taking friend requests?
Right. But yeah, so it 100% showed me a lot. So I think, and you notice that, the same is true with dating and stuff, if you say no, I mean, but it's a little difficult to with the respect and stuff with dating, if a guy is pursuing me or trying to date me and I'm like, no, I mean, there's only so much a person can take. right? So I'm not going to go just telling him like, I'm telling him to give up. You have to be able to be like, yes, I'm interested. I'm also really focused on my work and find that balance. Maybe we go on a date once a month, once a week, something. So balance is really important. But yeah, a no will tell you a lot about a person. If you say no to sleeping with someone and they run for the hills, they were never meant to be in your life in the first place because they're only there for one thing. So yes, no will tell you a lot.
I find man, there is there's just a joy I get in the conversation around no. And I'm not sure, maybe this is just the affinity for new conversations in the social sphere. Like I think my kryptonite was soft yeses. It was this, I'm gonna show my worth, I'm gonna show my value, and I'm gonna show that I'm enough by being present, by being seen, by being a giver, by all these things. And my couple years have taught me a lot about what happens when you say no, and about how to navigate the reaction to it. And I can remember the conversations I used to have with my closest friends were largely about business and life and, our pursuits and what we wanted. And now I find that the people I hold to the highest esteem, what we're really able to do is work through our projects, our like internal projects collaboratively. And part of that makes me feel like true friendship is the art of still being alone, but with someone there next to you. I was with a buddy 2 weekends ago, and we had gone really, really deep, and he was explaining something to me. He said, "Aaron, you're not alone." And then the conversation got really interesting because he said, "And you are. Like you're alone in this. I can't do the work for you. I can't rescue you. I can't save you, but you are not alone in your aloneness." And I thought that was such a profound discovery, just that, I've got shit to do. I've got things that I got to work on, and I'm alone in that, but I'm not alone in everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's part of the journey, is being okay.
Yeah,
being
I
alone.
think community is really important. As much as I was just talking about running away from all your friends, I really think
cosmic paradox.
I think that it's important to isolate to an extent, have not completely isolate, but have a time by yourself, get to know you, spend intentional time with yourself, be able to be alone, and then be very selective with who you allow in that little circle, because you will become the 4 people that you spend the most time around, whether you like it or not. So you have to be careful with those 4 people. And if you are hanging out with 16 different people for like an hour, or like not really diving deep, you know what I mean? It's too much. It's just like my old Instagram. It's too much. It's all over the place. Like how are we gonna, get anywhere? What are we doing? All good people maybe, but like you can't truly invest in any of those people. You don't have the time or the energy. No one does. We have to start looking at our energy like currency. Why do we care so much about how much money we have, but we're totally fine with just completely giving away all of our energy? And then, we end up not having energy for the people that we really should be giving it to. And I was definitely guilty of that. 100%. It was, I just didn't have it left for my friends, my closest friends, or my family, or my sister, because I had given it all away to all these people that didn't appreciate it at all. So I think that is so important, is having those people that you can sit in silence with, that you can be alone next to someone where they're just like, I'm here for you. You've got this. You're going to do this, and be able to talk about, like you're saying, more than just our businesses, but like who we're trying to become. Like my business partner, the way that we speak to one another, it's like, it's not just about creating a business. It's about creating this best version of ourselves, about how are you feeling? How is your energy? When she's up, I can be a little down, but she pulls me back up. And then if she's down, I'm all of a sudden up and I pull her back up. And it's just this energy and bringing ourselves to purpose and our truth and our why, and then everything else falls into place. If you asked me, 20 years ago, if I thought I was going to be a life coach, I would be like, what? That's a silly question. Like, no. And now I can't imagine anything else. And I have people ask me, like, what gives you the right to be a life coach? And I'm like, I don't have all of the, I didn't go to school for psychology. I didn't do this and that. But what I've learned from life, I want to make sure no one else has to learn that way. And if I can tell you something that will prevent you from going through what I went through, or help you get out of what you're going through, or help you experience the good things that I've experienced, the joy the place that I'm in right now, I'm so happy. I'm so filled up with life. I wake up at 5 something in the morning because I want to. Like, if you told me that 5 years ago, I would have been like, did you smoke something? Or like, not a morning person. And now I'm like, there's so much exciting stuff to happen. Like, if I sleep anymore, I'm going to miss it. And I want people to experience that. So yeah, but it's about who we're around, right? Because if I'm around someone that's sleeping until 10, it's going to be a little more difficult for me to wake up at 5.
I've coached entrepreneurs for 8 years. Somewhere concurrently, I coached girls soccer professionally for 12. Coaching has been my world. And I don't have any certs. And one of the things that I have said over and over and over to your point, and I just want to honor you in this, is that coaching is not about answers. It has nothing to do with answers. I'm here to help you find the questions and make sure you are not alone when you were sitting on the couch decaying and following up with your demons. Like,
yeah,
I think that, that world, the world of coaching, in my opinion, is in need of a check-in, maybe like an evaluation.
Yeah.
Where I do understand that it's really easy to just label yourself and go. And in my opinion, what makes coaching is not what you do, not how you do it, not even the questions. It's what's your intention.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of coaches are like, yo, I'm great at sales and I can get you to buy something because you have a problem, or I think I have a solution, or here's what I've done.
Yeah.
Versus I'm going to sit in the shit with you. When it's raining, I'm not going to give you an umbrella. I'm just going to get wet with you. Mm-hmm. When you're down, stuck in the mud, I'm not going to throw you a life jacket or like hand you a pole. I'm going to get in the mud and lift you up. And just that to me is an energetic thing.
Yeah.
You are not only are you not alone, but you are signing up. If you can't make it, I'll carry you. If you're afraid, you can borrow my courage. If you are somehow stuck, then I'll push you until you break through the wall.
Yeah.
That to me is an intention of coaching that's very different across all of the spectrums of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's authenticity. It goes back to authenticity, right? And you can tell when someone is just doing it for numbers too, or for dollars. And it's understandable. Like, we're all, trying to eat,
It's your hustle.
but, and I think the thing is with coaching, it's just like personal training, coaching as well. People care more about the results than I've never worked with a personal trainer who I was like, let me see your certificate. Like, I'm like, let me see your abs or my abs. I don't even care if you have abs. If I have abs in like 5 weeks, then I'll keep working with you, like.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah. The thing that comes to mind too, in just the way that you share, is that in order to be a decent leader for someone, you have to have a really good sense of your direction. And I'm reminded of a quote with, let's see, it's like with no port in mind, no wind or sea is favorable. Like if you don't know where you're trying to go, it doesn't matter who's blowing where or what's
Yeah.
doing this. Like
Yeah.
you can't tell what's working and what's not. I was talking today with a group of guys, and we were talking about distractions, and they made I had them make a list of all their distractions, and the list was it was okay, it was okay, but the conversation that ensued was, hey, like all these things are distracting me, and the question was, well, from what? Because you can't have a distraction unless there's a for what. If you watch TV, it's not a distraction unless it's distracting you from something that you care about more. And it was interesting because then that led to a conversation about context, and everything is about context in my world. I'm sure it is with you too. Like if you say I'm unhappy with my life, then the context has to be, okay, then what do you want? And if you don't have that figured out, it's very hard to help somebody. Like that's kind of like the first question is, what do you want? And so I guess the root of my share is that I'm curious to know, as you grow, as you expand, as your art blossoms into the world, what do you want?
I truly I want to impact so many lives. And I don't care if it's with music or standing on a stage, telling my story. I want my parents to retire and be happy. I want my legacy to trickle down into very happy, healthy children. I want to save so many women and men, but especially obviously I'm a woman. So my heart goes out to young women. I want to start an orphanage. There's so many things that it's going to take a lot of reach, and, it's going to take a lot of money, and I want to make a lot of money and reach a lot of people so I can have a big change, and be a good steward of the resources that we have in this world.
That's a pretty awesome answer. I also very much appreciate that you started each sentence with "I want." Something I noticed. It takes work. I don't think we're accustomed to that here. It just is. It becomes weird if you don't practice it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
see
think
you
that
in your work.
it's very important to recognize, or I think that our culture, right, kind of shames us a little. They want us to want a lot of stuff, but then they also don't want us to want stuff.
That's right.
But the key is being able to be like, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? Right. And for me, I found my purpose through what I went through. And I realized that like, I've always loved people. I've always wanted to help people, but I didn't know what that really looked like. And so now, like when my music helps someone, that's fulfilling my purpose. When my company helps someone, that's fulfilling my purpose. If you don't know what that is, then you'd feel bad about wanting things, because then it's just it's just selfish. You just want nice things so you can just have nice things. Yeah, that's kind of stupid. Like, are you gonna like marry your nice things? You know what I mean? Like, or do you want, you want this beautiful marriage, but like for what? Is it going to be fulfilling? Are you going to together be stewards of the world, and make change? So I think that when we realize and find, and that's why with my number one thing with my clients is, let's find your purpose. Let's find your why. Let's dig into, like you said, what do you want? What do you want to give back to the world? Because at the end of the day, as selfish as we are, we get the most joy as human beings from giving. So once you figure out how you're going to use whatever it is, maybe you're really good with animals, and then you're going to want a lot of animals so that you can help animals. You know what I mean? Like once you figure out what it is, then you don't feel bad about wanting the things that you want, because you want the things you want so you can give.
Yeah,
and it's a full
that's
cycle.
such a great example. I did not see that example coming. Of all the examples I would have picked. Yeah, I'm big on why. So I want you to think about how to express this succinctly, because this is a bigger question. I think that people get wrapped up in making purpose like purpose, and it's like, I got to be saving the rainforest or all the animals or whatever. But in a way, it can be pretty small, and it can be now, and it can be the next 9 months, and it can be a phase in the
Mm-hmm.
longevity of multiple phases, rather than this, I got to decipher this huge puzzle where,
Right.
my like cosmic entity is guiding and shepherding every step of the way. That makes it feel so big and looming that it's hard to figure out where to begin. And if you are inclined and intrinsically motivated to figure out purpose and figure out why,
Mm-hmm.
that feels like it's 90,000 steps away.
Yeah.
So where does someone start so that purpose can just be small, so a why can begin?
I think it starts with figuring out what you enjoy and what you're good at and how those two collide. And it's the little things that you do every day that bring you joy. For me, it was very interesting. What I realized is that I had been in toxic relationship after toxic relationship after toxic relationship. And what I was doing is trying to fix them. Because the core of me had this very aggressive savior mentality. And I was going around trying to fix everyone, except for myself, of course.
Yeah.
You know?
Avoidance is great.
Yeah. So I took the time to fix myself. I'm not fixed. I am not healed. That is a lifelong journey. And I think it is a forever process. But I am far along on my healing journey, much farther than I ever imagined I would be. And in that, I realized that I enjoy helping people. I enjoy seeing other people succeed. I enjoy making music because I want people to hear it and feel heard, feel seen, feel something. And when I look back at these relationships, I'm like, look what I did. Like, they are amazing. Like, they not amazing, but I did some incredible things. I have like one friend who my phone is like, she can get through all the barriers, even if you put your phone on sleep. So I realized that what would happen if I used those gifts for someone who wanted them. And I think that that is when you find your purpose. Like, what are the things that you enjoy doing, that you're good at, that you can give back to the world in the day-to-day life? And for some people, that's being a good mom. And then your purpose is like, you're a good mom. And then guess what? Another mom sees you being a good mom and she learns some new tricks from your mothering and takes them into her, that could be your purpose. Or you could be really good, at building furniture, and you build furniture, like it is, like you said, it's simple. It's the things that bring us joy. I think we overcomplicate it a bit. It's finding the things that fulfill us and give back at the same time. And it doesn't have to be take over the world, start a new country. Like, it can be the most simple thing, and then it turns into something else and something else.
I am officially down to start a new country. If you would like to be a part of the movement, please let me know.
I thought about it.
Have you heard of the term ikigai?
Ikigai?
Ikigai, Ikigai. It's Japanese. I feel like you would really resonate with it. It essentially ties to two things that you mentioned with sort of the practical application. I found this a long time ago, built some frameworks on it. It's a big part of my work and taught me a lot. It's essentially the Venn diagram of 4 circles, which is a lot of overlapping shapes, but it's, what are you great at? What do you love? What does the world need? And what can you get paid for? So if,
Yep.
I'll send you the book. It's a really good read. And the Japanese term, the definition of it is not like business or purpose. It's reason for being. And I really love that too. I've struggled with being. Like, I do a lot of doing, but not a lot of being. Mm-hmm. And that framework was just,
that's excellent
music for me.
Yeah.
So I'll send you the book.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that.
We've come full circle. This is fucking awesome. This was amazing. I appreciate the insights about not just the authenticity that's needed to put yourself out there, but the entirety of your journey, your art, the expansiveness that is with, and the challenges that come with it, and then how to stay narrow and say no and cut things off. Chelsko, where can people learn more about you, find you, follow you, check out these photos of you with cars and hats?
Those are not there anymore. Thank God. But yeah, my Instagram is Chelsko Lifestyle. I also have Chelsko Music. So either one of those. Yeah, come say hi. It is a community on my page, so you're welcome here.
Please pay attention to what she's putting out. I think I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about not just what you're sharing, but how you're sharing. So that's been meaningful. And this all started with just a simple token of like, hey, I can tell that you've worn a lot of hard days and managed to navigate through them. And I can appreciate that you not only share that, but do that so gracefully.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much.
I'm grateful for your time, your wisdom today. This was a really beautiful conversation. And I'm just so glad to share it with you.
Thank you for having me. This has been lovely. You have so much insight and wisdom as well. Like, keep doing what you're doing. We need more male leaders that are leading well. We do. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. All right. Give her a follow, pay attention. And as a reminder, as always,